How
Yeah.
many times have we heard, why are you in this class? My counselor put me in this class.
On today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis recap Week 0 games, including an overview of FAMU's academic challenges, preview Week 1 of the college football season, including making predictions, strictly for entertainment purposes only. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And once again, my partner is on assignment, and man, give him a silent cheer because he's putting the work in. I got to give my partner credit. But again, saving the day is the captain for life, Will Cotton. And Will, thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Another day, more sports to talk about.
All right. So on this Throwdown Thursday edition, we're getting ready for college football week 1. And first thing I want to do is try not to go too far on a rant, but I got to talk about this FAMU football situation. So FAMU was scheduled to play University of North Carolina. It got word Thursday night from the NCAA that 26 players were declared ineligible. Dr. Adams and his lovely wife was scheduled to go to see the game because it's going to be it was a celebration of HBCUs. A lot of stuff going on down there. Special shout out to the University of North Carolina's football program who treated us so well, and we wish them the best on the season. But again, as just people, they were just kind to us, and they showed us around, and they took care of us. And I wanted to see that game out of all of the games. And they said, Coach, you can go to any game you want except Notre Dame. We're not messing with that one. But I wanted to spend time. We saw FAMU, and they have a very good quarterback. This is all before all of this stuff. So I wanted to see them, and I wanted to hear the band and all of the things as a Bowie State alum. So then people said, well, why are they even playing North Carolina in the first place? Well, Cotton Man, they got a $450,000 payout, which will probably take care of most of the athletic department because it's no budget productions.
Oh, yeah. Not at all.
So they played the game. They played as well as could be, and they lost 56-24. But the fact that they were in the game and didn't embarrass themselves, kudos to FAMU because they do have talent and they will be in the mix with the HBCUs and the SWAC and all of that stuff. They got Jackson State coming up, I think like September 3rd or September 4th. But I digress because it's about the post-game wrap-up, Will, that I want to talk about. So after playing North Carolina without 26 players, and I didn't even put this in your notes, Florida A&M's football team wrote a scathing letter to the university president, Dr. Larry Robinson. The letter was signed by 88 players, and it lays out a list of issues that they want resolved, including timely financial aid payments at an HBCU. That's a story in itself. More academic support, which is something I talked about in my own dissertation. They want more compliance support. They would like summer school housing and meals. The fact that they don't even get summer school housing and meals is problematic. They would like representation on the athletic director search committee, and they want better ticket allotment for players' families. Because of what the team said was poor academic advice and compliance is the reason why they had so many players ruled ineligible. And I can totally see that as somebody in academic support, because for the last X amount of years, including when you played for me, sir, how many times have we heard, why are you in this class? My counselor put me in this class.
Right. But I have to kind of put my information security hat on real quick because I work in compliance. You know what I'm saying? So I work a lot with the DoD and make sure that the organization is compliant, obviously, people and devices. So if you have that many players ineligible, then you have a broken system. You not only do you have a bad system, I'm sure if they did a compliance check, I'm sure they would fail poorly, like, for whatever reason, because not having enough money sometimes is lack of less guidelines of procedure. You know what I'm saying? If you can't automate a lot of things, then you have to go in and tell people like, okay, well, this is how we got to tell people. This is how we do things. This is how we create things. And if somebody comes and says, hey, is this what you guys are doing at FAMU? They're like, yeah. And they're like, prove it. And they're like, so I think a lot of times the university failed those kids. You have to support kids, and you can't say that every kid that makes it to college is just a studious kind of student, somebody who's going to always like, oh, he studies. He's at Miami. He's in college, he's an so I think the thing is, if there are that many kids that are ineligible, and those kids they represent the school. If anybody you're going to support the guys that support the school. So I think the school definitely let those kids down. And what they do now is they put in a way and they say, such and so is ineligible. And people see that in the public eye and they say, oh, ineligible. He's an idiot. He's dumb. He's not going to, like, all you have to be is eligible. Like, all you have to do is go to class. You're an athlete, but if you don't have a system that supports you and you've never had to do things like that, like, come on, I mean, from, sixth grade to senior year, if you have that ability, you're not really like taking school serious. I think a lot of kids, I mean, there are a lot of kids who do, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely a lot of kids who are like, man, they're coasting, teachers give them grades. Hey, man, nice touchdown. Hey, man, 3-point. Hey, man, that's what I'm talking about, and all of a sudden the kid has a B, hasn't read a book. Don't worry, we have a test tomorrow, but don't worry about it. That's failing those kids. But then you get to the situation now where it's like, now you're at a university and you're part of a bigger organization. Granted, you represent the team, you're still a bigger umbrella underneath that. And before that, they'll definitely be, they'll say, hey, man, like, we ain't LSU, we ain't Florida, no disrespect, but we're UNC, or we're FAMU. Like, we take academics very serious outside of football. There's a lot of professors that you meet, like football, I don't care. So I think at the end of the day, without going on and rambling, the school definitely failed those kids, and then support the kids enough way, because you having 26 ineligible kids, that's a broken system. That's not 26 bad kids, and that's not and if you are, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're making decisions, and then you look at the guy who's 18, 19, and you're like, oh, he's definitely going to listen. Like, I'm 35. I just started listening. So, if I'm 18 and I'm the man on campus, like, I'm not, so you have to support them in a way that shows them that academics really mean it means something to them. But yeah, I think they definitely let the school down, and they have a right to say, hey, we need more support. Because no one's going to say that, but if somebody says it and has it credited behind it, and it's somebody stamped and signed, and our country is founded on people signing on a declaration. You know what I'm saying? So you can't even say it's not valid. So it means something, and especially in this country. So they need to just get it fixed up, man. Because like I said, without going on and on, 26 ineligible kids is a failed system.
Well, despite being down so many players, the team chose to play against North Carolina. not for the university according to the team, but they did it for everyone else who supports them. The players also kneeled for the alma mater after the game, and they intend to do so until the problems outlined in the letter was addressed. So I have to say this. There's a lot of problems in terms of academic support at HBCUs. According to the FAMU website, the athletic program features one compliance director and two NCAA faculty representatives. The head coach, Willie Simmons, said the players are frustrated with many of the school's internal processes in terms of certification. Coach also said responsibility also falls upon the players to adhere to NCAA rules and regulations as well as the university. FAMU is woefully understaffed, as most compliance departments are. And here's the rant that you've heard since you've played for me. It's hard to help people. During my dissertation, I wanted to really focus on Division I men's basketball, and I couldn't because I couldn't get the support. So I got the advice, which I'm glad I got, to do as many sports as I could, but I really wanted to hone in on HBCUs because of the lack of support they have. And quite frankly, not one HBCU said, yes, Keith, come survey our athletes. We want to help. I had to go to PWIs to get help. The NCAA gave me great advice to help me become Dr. Adams. No HBCU Division I, did that. So one of the reasons why we have CKA is because student athletes need independent academic services, and we cost $200 a year. And I'll take you back to when you played for me. We had academic reports with no electronic anything like everybody has now. Y'all Bamas took the sheets to the teachers. and before practice, including the JV, we went through grades and we ran and we created an environment that, hey, do whatever you got to do because coach cares. Okay, I don't know what other sport you play, but if you play for Adams, he gonna check. So I think I should go to class because I know something's gonna happen. And as you said, Will, that just didn't happen for Florida A&M, and it's just so sad, man. Any final thoughts before we move on to the foolishness of Nick Saban's new deal?
No, again, it's just, unfortunate for those kids, because at the end of the day, they're the only ones who really pay it the most. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't get to play, which means they don't get, they don't have tape that they can send. If their dream is to go to the NFL, they already have a mark. Like, what? You couldn't even play? Like, you couldn't even, so it's messed up, man, because at the end of the day, everyone should know that the organization failed those kids, and, they should really owe them an apology. And get that corrected for sure.
Yes, indeed. So I'll bring up Nick Saban because in my study, one of the things that I quoted was Nick Saban and his offensive and defensive coordinator, three guys, make as much money annually as the Delaware State Athletic Department whole budget for everybody. So three dudes make as much as the Delaware State Athletic Department. Not just use Delaware State as the example. So Nick Saban just signed a new $93.6 million contract extension, which runs through 2030, making him college football's highest paid coach. Saban turned 71 in October, has won 6 national championships at Alabama, and he says he's as committed as ever. He's entering his 16th season at Alabama. And again, get the bag. Mike and I say it every week, but wow, that's a lot. And FAMU and so many other schools have so little. It's really annoying, but I'm not mad at Nick. Sign the contract, take all the money somebody wants to give you. But Jiminy Crickets, what are we doing here, man?
Oh yeah, I think the first thing is, FAMU is competing with the entire Florida panhandle, like all the, I mean, UF, UCF, Miami, FSU, then FAMU, FAMU. Alabama is literally like nothing. They don't have
the whole
pro
show.
teams. There's, either Auburn or Alabama. and then one of the schools is named the entire state. So I can't. So it's like, you're Alabama football. Like, that's it. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate but we all know that there's more invested into the SEC and Alabama than HBCUs, especially from, NFL or donors like that. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. There's really, obviously there's some things that you could even, I think they're doing a good job. What they're doing now is showing out that, hey, these kids really play good football. You can put them on prime time. They'll entertain you. And, and you might see the next kid who can make it out into the NFL and do the great thing. But, you're not getting the best athletes as well. And no disrespect, no disrespect at all. It's TV, man. It's what we're watching, and let's keep it real. If Alabama is playing Florida versus FAMU versus Howard, and I got my master's degree from Howard, I'm gonna watch Alabama versus Florida. That's the real. The pipeline from SEC to the NFL is a lot more intriguing to people than instead of HBCU. Like, oh, this kid is whatever. Now, on the flip side, I do think that you're going to see a lot more football enthusiasts, especially guys who are like XO, stats, things like that. I think guys would love it. I think if you actually give HBCU and SWAC and gave them a chance and put them on prime time and promote them, like, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I'd rather see one of them than like, Iowa versus like Penn State. Like, they were like Penn State versus Iowa at 8 p.m. I'm like, man, all right, I'm going out. I guess.
I was the slowest good team I've ever seen in my life.
Good team, great team, but not a team I'd rather a team that's, balls to the wall, man. Like, that's what I would like. And I think they would get a chance. I think they would have a chance. I think the best thing is now they're getting chances to actually get games, primetime games, and exposure. It just has to translate. It's but the good things are, better players are coming to the HBCU or SWAC. Obviously, Deion Sanders is helping that, making that program big. So it's going to take talent. It's going to take time. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take more. I mean, we've seen a lot more kids say, hey, I'm going to go to Howard, or I'm going to go to, Jackson State, or I'm going to go, over here instead of Florida State. So yeah, I think it'll be a slow process. I think we can keep that momentum. I think it won't become a thing until one of those HBCU2s like plays a D1, like FCS team. Go out and like Michigan State, or you go out and whoop like Michigan, or you go out.
So you need an Appalachian State type moment when they beat Michigan.
You need it, and then they got to let the tide roll, and they got to let the momentum go. But I think they wouldn't. I think they'd be scared. I think UNC, man. I guarantee you, if UNC played in HBCU or SWAC, they would definitely get some losses. I think they would win the conference. I think they would be obviously the more superior team, but they would get some loss. They would lose a couple times. You know what I'm saying? A better team, maybe a team that has a 1-loss record or 2-loss or 3-loss. So everybody can lose. Every day it can happen. So I think at the end of the day, I think that's when I see more exposure. I wish I myself needed to do a better job of sitting down and watching those games. But it helps now to have, one of my alma maters and my buddy, Akil Russell.
Yes, indeed. Family.
Fam, coaching over at Howard. Definitely going to check him out. Definitely watch those games. So I'm going to do my part. And I hope I'll put it out for other people. Like, this game is great. This game is fire, and they can enjoy and say, oh, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to turn that on. Like, this is great. Internet is great, obviously. If you can get highlights and games and streaming and links, man, like you can go a little farther. So, oh man, need water, but but yeah, that's probably about it needs.
All right. So while Will gets some water, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about hiring in August in college athletics. That's not a good thing. We'll be right back.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA SAVE Project academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, we're going to do a little administration here. First of all, Auburn needs a new AD in August. So Alan Green will step away, air quotes, from his role as Auburn athletic director. The decision was announced after the two sides negotiated terms of his departure. The decision to step away was not an easy one, he said, but he is looking forward to beginning the next step in his professional journey. So let's dig a little deeper, shall we? First of all, Green was hired away from Buffalo in January 2018 by Auburn, becoming the school's first Black athletic director. During his tenure, Auburn reached 2 College World Series in baseball, a Final Four in men's basketball, and had a significant growth in capital projects and facilities. Auburn is in the midst of building a $92 million football facility, which is slated to open next year. Now, football has had issues. They fired Gus Malzahn, struggled to find a replacement, and the guy he hired, Brian Harsin, quite frankly, hadn't been doing what's needed. Okay. Right. But if I gave you those credentials, do you think a guy would leave in 4 years with everything he's done? Any thoughts about that, Will, as you looked at the notes and peeked at?
It's either he had another deal that he couldn't, he had to take it. Either that or he did something and he was like, look, I gotta resign because something's gonna come out. And if I get ahead of it, then I can get away. But I don't know. I don't know.
Let's again continue to dig deeper. Green was entering the final 5 months of his contract, which is a rarity for athletics at major schools. Okay. He had asked Auburn for clarity about his future with his deal expiring, and he was told that Auburn was likely going to wait until the end of football season. So Green was like, nah, we're not doing that. So here's a little bit about his background, ladies and gentlemen. He is a former Notre Dame baseball player who developed a strong reputation in the athletic industries as he worked his way up from being an assistant AD at Ole Miss to AD at Buffalo, and then he arrived in Auburn in 2018. So, man, that's a little shaky. But again, get the bag, get the severance package, take a year off, and then somebody's going to offer him a gig because he's too talented and he's done too much. And Auburn is Auburn. And we'll just leave it at that. Yeah. The NCAA is making some hiring. So Notre Dame's executive deputy director, Mario Morris, has been hired as the NCAA's vice president of administration and chief financial officer. So Morris is a former starting linebacker at Alabama, won a national championship in '92, was hired by Mark Emmert and will replace the retiring CFO, Kathleen McNeely. So remember, Mark Emmert's leaving too. Yeah. So I mentioned this hire, Will, because Morris has taken over the NCAA's finances at just a crazy time in college. And he took the job with an understanding that he's going to be kind of like a CFO. And he wants to explore more options with NIL, NFTs, and sponsorship. So as somebody in technology, what do you think of this type of position? Not necessarily him, but man, what does the NCAA need to do to kind of not even catch up, because they're so far from catching up? But what would you advise the NCAA to do, sir?
Man, I think the hardest thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to create some sort of regulations behind NIL. I think now it's kind of getting kind of ugly. Not ugly. I think that the numbers are getting like crazy. You know, it kind of it reminds me of when the NFL rookies. Remember the rookies used to make like $100 million coming out, something crazy, and then they were like, whoa, all right, well, you know, we got to cut this down. We got to cut it out. These kids need to get paid like, okay, a little bit and a little bit. And then when they earn it and they can get the new contract, cool. People will get upset. I'm sure if they definitely say it's a free market and I should be able to do this and I should be able to do that. You know, but there definitely should be a cap on it. I definitely should be a cap. I definitely should be some sort of compliance behind it, because at the end of the day, money is funny. You know, and there's things like it's things that you don't want to have to deal with. For example, let's say there was a basketball player, and this is fiction. This is fictitious. You know, it's fiction. You know, it's not real. Let's say there's a basketball player, and he decides, well, hey man, I can go get paid working at, you know, Bang Bros. So he's like, okay, well, you know, you're over 18. You can do what you can do. Like, you go down there, he's making money. Now he's on videos and you see your star point guard every week on TV. He's getting money. Where do you draw the line at where you're getting endorsements from? What are you doing to get endorsements from? Who's giving you money for? You know, there has to be more sort of regulation than people just giving money, because, you know, also they have a lot of regulation for you and me to get money based on our respective industries. You know what I'm saying? So you have a kid who's 18 years old, 19 years old, getting money, and there's no compliance, there's no rules. They're just, you know, I'll give this kid whatever to do whatever. You know, it also gets an issue now when it's like, hey man, like, hey, I'll give you this, just, you know, drop this football or drop this touchdown, or, you know, step out of bounds instead of taking the first down. Like, you know, little stuff like that, you know, it just gets murky. I think when it's that much murky, you have to have regulation on it, and you know, and let it get its moan. It should grow as it matures. So you take the restrictions away. You say this, and this, and this. Let's see how things work in the last 5 years. If we can mature and then, you know, say, okay, now we're going to do this now, or are we going to do this now? I think the biggest thing about the NCAA is they had a chance to really wrangle all this in you know, before this even exploded. I remember they had the cases with Northwestern football team that had to, you know, they were on trial with them, and they were having like, oh, well, we can do this and we can do that. That was a chance where they said, okay, well, let's make a deal with you guys right now. Let's see what we can do. Unfortunately, they got to a point where they didn't even want to deal with them and work with them, and the system just blew up. So now everybody can just pay for anything, doing whatever you want. It's just whatever, you know. But what happens, like, if a team, like, I forgot the quarterback for Oklahoma who got the like $1 million deal for like a food market or like a Kroger or something like that, and then he was on was it Alabama? Either way, he left the team. He left Oklahoma and went to like some other team. So like, what happens with that?
We're talking about Spencer Rattler.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens like with that? Like, you signed an X amount of year contract, millions of dollars. All of a sudden you just leave, and, you know, how does that work? Like, do you get like severance? Do you get like a buyout? Do you get like, you just paid that your work pay, like this, you did this and this is what you get paid for? You know, I'm not against kids getting paid. I like that they're getting paid. I just think that there has to be more structure around it. You know what I'm saying? And if there's more regulation around it, there's more secure for the kids, you know, because not every kid is going to be, you know, the star. You know, there's a lot of kids who are on the team who are getting themselves in some trouble because they're like, oh, INL, I can do this, I can do that. So, they're not protected. They're not protected as much as, the star. So again, we have to remember they're kids. They're still kids. They're young, even though they're 20s and, 18, 19, 20, 21. We have to protect them. And if that means that, and crazy idea, right? We already give kids in college credit cards. So I'm sure they don't care about your financial, your aptitude about what you're thinking about. But again, this comes down to support, coach. This comes down to support. We have big teams like Ohio State. They even have a whole department that handles NIL for them.
Yes,
and so I understand, like, that's a great way to start, because now you have a organ or a department, a structure that will allow you to filter anything for the safe way that you can. You can at least give kids information so that they aren't just like, like I said, signing with Pornhub or signing with like, a gun company or thing like that. Educate, like you said, education. So if there were teams like FAMU who could have enough money to have a department that says, hey, we want you to come out here and we'll tell you how to, your name, image, likeness, like how you make some money on that. Come here. That's something that a lot of kids will be like, hey, well, hey, let me take a look at that. So it's not no BS, So yeah, again, not against everybody making any money, but I definitely think that we just need to catch up to the regulation and just make sure that we're doing it in a safe, proper, legal way. If anything, I think it also gets a kind of, it's also ironic because NIL is now more, it's everywhere. It's now you're getting to see it in like high school level. I'm starting to see some NIL stuff.
Yes, you are.
More regulations are being laxed amongst sports betting. Where can you bet? Where can you gamble? Where can you put your money on? It's a weird time. You're allowing a lot more gambling. You're letting a lot of people make a lot of money, which is all cool. Trust me, I am not against that. If you're responsibly, and even if it's just fun or water bets, like, I'm cool. Like, as long as you know nothing, whatever like that. But just like, gambling, there's a lot of regulation behind it. So I think in order to kind of make it more even and make more structure for them, NIL definitely needs a structure, definitely needs policy, definitely needs a framework that they can have rules and can audit it, because now if there's a country, I mean, not country, if there's a country, if a university is like, hey, yeah, if somebody comes from a law firm and they're like, hey, are you guys doing that? For compliance officers, like, hey, are you guys doing that? Are you doing that with NIL? And they're gonna be like, oh, well, I don't know. All right, well, now we're gonna check and see what you guys do. How much money have you guys been giving out? What you guys have given? What if you have a record of it? Because the team should have a record of the sponsors that the player does own. In my opinion, they should be able to look at it, verify it, say, okay, we don't want you to represent the university doing this, like Pornhub, like, so you can't do this. Void it. It's like I said, it's so murky. It needs the regulation. I think we can go so many different ways, but I think at the end of the day, protect the kids, protect, the financial literacy that they're going to have to endure or learn, protect the universities because, they have taken a lot of risks as well. And by do that, you're going to have to create compliance. And if everyone's unhappy, then you're doing a good policy time, good job policy.
Well, as we close this segment, two quick things. One, hey, free market. The market has a way of taking care of itself. And two, once you turn 18, sir, I am a fan of Universal 18. Think about how much money we would save if the drinking age was 18, the driving age was 18, the right to vote was 18. If everything was 18, now we're not paying for university police to bust up parties because if you're old enough to die for our country, you should be able to have a Bud Light. So, I'm sure the market will take care of itself. But speaking of taking care of itself, segment 3 will be strictly for entertainment purposes only, as we get ready for week 1 of college football. And that's the real reason why Will is here, because he's the one I talk to the most about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Roll it so you. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast in segment 3. Strictly for entertainment purposes only. We're going to do some postseason predictions. We're going to do some preseason predictions, and we're just going to have a good time. All right. So the OCP top 5. We only care about 5 because at the end of the year, top 4 make it and one team's going to be left out. So we have going into the year, Alabama is 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4, Utah's 5. That's not saying Utah is the 5th best team in the country.
Right.
That's saying Utah's the best team in the Pac-12. And I don't see anybody beating Utah in the Pac-12. And if there's an undefeated Pac-12 team that's available and they do not get into the college football playoffs, Congress is going to investigate, and nobody wants the feds involved in anything. And that doesn't mean Clemson's the 4th best team. It means they're the best team in the ACC, and that's going to be an issue. And on the outside looking in is Notre Dame for week 1 until Ohio State's run them off the floor. And then we don't have to talk about Notre Dame anymore, even though I do like Notre Dame. NC State's supposed to be pretty good this year, and Oklahoma is the best that the Big 12 has to offer. So that's why our focus all season is on the top 5, and that's how we're looking at it. Will, any thoughts on our top 5 going into the season?
Standard teams. Every year it's Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and then there's usually a nice little 5th team jumping in there. We'll see, man. I'm really excited about Utah. If I can stay up late enough, I can actually watch them. They play at like midnight, man, or like 9 p.m., 11.
We're not staying up to watch Utah.
We're watching.
Call me in the morning.
Yeah, right. I'll have to find out on ESPN on Sunday morning. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I think it's time for the playoff to be expanded. I think 4 teams is too arbitrary. I think you really just need to say, look, let's start a playoff going. Let's go 6 teams. I think that's a lot more. I think people would love it. I think they can get rid of some of like conference, some football. I think you can, instead of the teams, let me start over. So the teams usually don't play for like a month, after they play, if they make the college football playoff. So why not, use some time, say, hey, why not run a couple games, expand the playoff? Obviously, they're going to say, well, no, we want to, preserve the athletes. They shouldn't be having that many games. And now they're getting paid. Now you could, the game changes. Like, well, we need a couple more games. Hey, man, you're getting paid $1 million, man. Look, we need like 14 games, by the way. But no, I agree with the top 5. I think it's a strong top 5. Again, who's going to beat Alabama? We'll see. Those guys are just a powerhouse. Ohio State, would love to see them do that. Georgia, I think Georgia, we'll see. They had an amazing team. They had an amazing team last year. They lost a lot of guys to the NFL, So if you're talking about athletes and talent, maybe they just have it run it up. Hey, let's do it again. I'm interested about Georgia because remember when LSU won the national title, they came out the next year and they were poop. They were not good. When Bergeron lost his what's his name? Bergeron?
Well, Ed
He
Bergeron had some problems that we will just go ahead and skip.
There you go.
And let's hit the game of the weeks. So, fans, again, strictly for entertainment purposes only. The point spread game of the week is NC State at ECU. The spread is +11. I'm telling you now, fans, jump on ECU +11. NC State will probably win, but they always have a tough time in that stadium. And of course, Vince McMahon went to ECU. So
yeah.
So we'll go ahead and put 10 on that one.
Yeah.
So the over-under game of the week will be Houston at UTSA. And take the over 61.5. UTSA had an exciting season last year, and I like Houston to hang around and be this year's Cincinnati. So I'm not seeing a lot of defense being played. That thing's going to get slung around. So I got $10 on that one, baby.
Yep, it's going to be a little hot out there, in San Antonio in the early fall, still kind of hot. Guys are going to be getting kind of tired, going to give up some big plays. And, that's what we want. Quick, big plays, quick, fast plays, that gets you where we need to get over. So I'm with you on the over.
All right. So the 2-play of the week, and fans, whenever I do a 2-play or a 3-play, it's straight money line. So I get a little less back, but I get something. So we got Louisville versus Syracuse. We're taking Louisville, and Cincinnati versus Arkansas. Go with the Bearcats. I'm going to go there and see if I can get a little something on the 2-play of the week. Any thoughts, Will?
I like it. Since he is a prime to upset, quote unquote, even though what they did last year. And
with
I
the
like
20-year-old senior, the 20-year seniors.
Right.
All right.
And Louisville, I got Louisville taking care of Syracuse, no problem.
All right. And the 3-play of the week, Oregon versus Georgia. That's an easy one. Utah versus Florida. I'm taking Utah. And Notre Dame versus Ohio State. I'm taking Ohio State. So again, I might get a little bit less, but the Utah over Florida is gonna make it worth my while. So that's gonna be my 3-play of the week. Will, any thoughts on that one, sir?
Oh yeah, I'm not a believer on Oregon. I mean, especially going up against the SEC first week. I think I'm a big Florida guy, but unfortunately, they just fired their coach. I think they're figuring things out. And when you have a team figuring things out versus a team that's ready to make that step, they're kind of very dangerous. Definitely a trap game, not a trap game, but more so a game that I would take the Utah. I would definitely I'll take for them. Yeah, for sure. The plus. Right. And obviously Ohio State. Yeah, Ohio State. Yeah, I would take them. Again, I'm not a big fan of Notre Dame. I think Ohio State is the better team. I think they beat them pretty bad. They're right in prime time. So I'm gonna take Ohio State as well. I like those.
As Morris Day said in Purple Rain with my annual dated reference, we gonna kill them. And Ohio State's gonna kill them. And my upset of the week, my money line play of the week, Boise State versus Oregon State. They had the audacity to say Boise +3. Snatch that sucker because they're going to beat Oregon State. Oregon State's terrible. So snatch that up, folks. And then our season-long win totals, we have already put the money down. And every week throughout the season, we're going to check on these teams. So here we go. Alabama over 11.5. We got Alabama winning 12 games. We got Georgia winning 12 games. We got Houston over 9.5. I think Houston's going to win 10 games.
Yeah.
Kansas over 2.5. Kansas has got to win 3 this year.
Got to win 3.
They got to win 3.
Got to.
I got North Carolina State over 8.5. We've got Nebraska under 7.5. And Nebraska. What was the onside kick? What were you thinking? But hey, keep thinking that way.
Yeah, keep thinking, right? That under will hit.
I do have Notre Dame over 8.5. I think they're going to be 9-3. I really do. Same thing with Penn State over 8.5. I took Texas and the under. Strictly because I don't like Texas. I don't like them, and I don't think they're going to win 9 games. And that's strictly for spite. That's it.
Or pretending. Yeah, I feel you.
No statistics. Just I don't like. Okay, I got Texas A&M under 8.5. Again, no stats. I just don't like Jimbo. And they talk so much and have won so little.
They start good, and then the middle of the season they just start to lose, and then they lose it at the end. So yeah, I feel you. I can see them definitely going under.
I got South Carolina over 6.5 because they're my sleeper team in the SEC. I think they can get 7 wins and a nice little bowl game. The Beamer kid's a nice little kid. He's doing some stuff there. I got Utah over 9 in the Pac-12, and that's easy only 9. Because I do not like the Pac-12. So,
yeah, easy 9. That's easy 9. I think they're going to destroy it.
I got Clemson over 10.5, and again, I'm not that strong on the ACC, and it's well documented. I'm not the biggest Dabo guy, but this is business, nothing personal. And I got Ohio State also winning 12. So that is what we will keep an eye on all season. Will, any other thoughts before we wrap up the show? And thanks for fitting us in so we can keep this thing going, buddy.
No, it was great. It was great. I like the season-long win totals. We'll see if they can keep those happen. I don't know about South Carolina. We'll see. I don't know about that 6.5.
I have wasted $10 on a cup of Starbucks. So, and the wife doesn't care. The wife could care less because that's just a bunch of 10. So,
everything else I like, though. Everything else I like. And yeah, man, the players of the weeks look good too. We just need to get those kids some support, and that's really the all that we need, man. But thank you for the opportunity to have me on. Appreciate it, Coach. Anytime.
All right. So real quick, it is always an honor this week on our Wednesday show. Following sat in for my co-host, and on our college show, the Cotton Man, the captain for life, sat in. So, hey, real talk, I'm a beaming coach right now because I got relationships with my guys long after their last game, which we still don't talk about. And Shaq maybe watched the video. That's the first time and only time you probably hear me say that. He made me watch it. But thanks again, Cotton Man. And on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, who was on assignment, keep them going, guys. I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.